Hello and welcome to NTA News International. I'm Ayo Deji. Makinde. First, the headlines. President Buhari unveils National Auto Gas Rollout Initiative, a core deliverable of the National Gas Expansion Program. Federal government launches strategic documents on HIV/AIDS as Nigeria's Center for Disease Control gets solar hybrid system to guarantee 24 hours of power supply. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo renews federal government's commitment to achieve economic prosperity and address security challenges in Nigeria. And now the news. Nigeria, being a major player in the global oil and gas industry, has taken a step further in effective utilization of the natural resources as President Muhammadu Buhari unveiled the National Auto Gas Rollout Initiative, which is a core deliverable of the National Gas Expansion Program. The president said the Auto Gas Rollout event signifies the realization of government's commitments to ensure the domestic utilization of the nation's vast gas resources, which currently stands at over 2 trillion cubic feet. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
It is an important milestone in whitening of domestic supply and the provision of cleaner, safer and better energy options for Nigerians, President Buhari says as he unveils the National Gas Expansion Program, National Auto Gas Rollout Initiative.
We are confident that the Auto Gas Initiative will lead to increased domestic gas utilization and enrich the trajectory of national economic growth and development. I therefore encourage everyone to embrace gas in form of LPG, CNG, and LNG as an alternative fuel for autos and other prime movers.
The global crude oil market is fluctuating, and with the full deregulation of the local premium motor spirit market, the president observes the National Gas Expansion Program is coming at the right time.
With a proven reserve of over 203 trillion cubic feet and additional upside of 600 trillion cubic feet, ranking Nigeria as the 9th in the world currently, the need for domestic gas expansion and utilization is apparent. These developments have made it imperative to focus on gas as an alternative fuel to move Nigeria from the conventional dependence on white products for autos and prime movers of industrial applications to cleaner, more available, accessible, and affordable energy source.
And with the handover of mass transit buses to organized labor, the president pledged to continue providing support that will ease transportation challenges Nigerians are facing. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has reassured Nigerians that the Boko Haram insurgency inherited by his administration would not be handed over to his successor in office. The president, who stated these at a strategic engagement with Senate President Ahmed Lawan, said more decision and proactive steps are underway towards ending the menace. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
At the instance of President Muhammadu Buhari, Senate President Ahmed Lawan led a high-powered presidential delegation to Borno State on a sympathy and fact-finding visit following the brutal killings of rice farmers in parts of the state. He is here alongside the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and member of delegation to give President Muhammadu Buhari a feedback on their engagements with stakeholders, especially the Zabarmari community where the killings took place. After their discussions that lasted about 1 hour, Senate President Ahmed Lawan told NTA News that President Buhari will not leave anything to chance in the renewed onslaught against terrorism and insurgency.
Mr. President said he inherited insurgency and he will finish with the insurgency before he leaves office by the grace of God. He will make available as much resources as possible for our armed forces to be well prepared and armed to fight the insurgency that has bedeviled that part of the country.
This fight is a national fight. It's not executive or legislature, but working together, and it's a manifestation of the close working relationship between the legislature and the executive. One other takeaway is the resilience of the community. Here are the people who have just lost loved ones, and yet they came out, Zabamari, and welcomed us, and the message of hope and commitment of the Mr. President is remarkable. And the second one is really the efforts and the leadership of the governor of Borno State, and particularly in terms of resettling the IDP, over 22 camps. And in order for the people to return to their places of origin, we have to beef up security. We have to also try to assist them in terms of education for their children, health facilities for the people, and above all, means of livelihood.
The Senate President said, on his part, the National Assembly will continue to give President Buhari the maximum support he requires to succeed in the battle against insecurity.
This is one thing that we must do, because there is nothing better than security. You provide security, everything will go on well. I want to also add here that there is need for new thinking, there is need for new strategies, there is need for more commitment, there is need for more motivation for our armed forces. In addition to the support, we should also give them targets.
Senator Ahmed Lawan called for more support, understanding and cooperation on the part of Nigerians as the government strives towards securing the country for a prosperous future. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has reassured Nigerians of renewed commitment of the Buhari administration towards doing everything possible to achieve economic prosperity and address security challenges in the country. The Vice President stated this at the palace of the Emir of Lafia. Aliyu Tijani Muhammad reports that Vice President Osinbajo also inaugurated a number of key projects in the states.
Vice President, who sympathized with the people of Nasarawa State over the killing of APC chairman Philip Sheko, among other victims of banditry and kidnapping, says the Buhari administration remains committed to end all forms of crimes and criminalities in the country. He says security agencies have been given orders to flush out criminals so that people can go about their legitimate businesses unhindered.
And which is why the president has said that, he's taking a serious look at how to deal with the issues, especially around the randomness. Because, some insane person goes into a place and shoots people down. That's not the sort of thing that you are prepared for conventionally. So we have to do a lot more local intelligence, which is, a lot more local intelligence. Some of the community policing efforts that we're trying to do, so that information is supplied faster, especially at the local level.
Emir of Lafia, Justice Sidi Bagi Mohammed I, assured the Vice President that traditional rulers are working closely with government to address insecurity. At the inauguration of Job Fair for Youth and Diagnostic Center, Vice President Osinbajo says Nasarawa government deserves commendation for promoting the well-being of the people. He says federal government will complement by rolling out more empowerment programs to lift the youth out of poverty. Similarly, the Vice President also inaugurated Lafia VIP Lodge under private sector management to enhance revenue of the state. From Lafia, Aliyu Tijani Mohammed, NTA News.
Knowing your HIV status is absolutely necessary, as not only does it give caregivers the opportunity to stop the virus from harming you, but access to the existing interventions. To this end, the global theme for the 2020 World AIDS Day calls on leaders and citizens to take responsibility in sustaining efforts at eliminating HIV, especially in COVID-19 era and beyond. Uche Ugochukwu reports.
An estimated 34 million people are living with HIV/AIDS worldwide, with the burden and prevalence reported among women, children and the youth.
We have self-stigma, environmental stigma and family stigma.
The agency responsible for the control of AIDS in Nigeria, NACA, is however optimistic that although the country is currently at 73% of the first 90 of the 1990 targets, the 2030 goal will be achieved.
Our main challenge is people agreeing to come out and demand for HIV testing and get tested. I can assure you, if everyone in Nigeria can get tested to know their status in the next 3 months, and in the next 2 years, we will reach the 95, and we will control HIV in this country.
We are working together as a joint team closely with the government of Nigeria to ensure that the adequate policies and standards are maintained as per global expectation, but that we also ramp up critical interventions like testing. And we want to commend the efforts that have been made, but we still have more to do.
WHO theme, Global Solidarity, Shared Responsibility, employs all hands on deck to end the scourge. So, get tested. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Galvanizing the private sector towards taking ownership of HIV testing and treatment has been identified as another measure in ending HIV in Nigeria. Uche Ugochukwu again reports that this was the thought of policymakers at the launch of a strategic document on HIV/AIDS in commemoration of the 2020 World AIDS Day in Abuja.
This strategy document will set the tone for a renewed effort in the fight against HIV and AIDS, drawing lessons from COVID-19 experiences.
Last year, over 44,000 Nigerians were estimated to have died from HIV/AIDS. We've spent 6.2 billion to identify and treat 70% of the estimated 1.8 million persons that live with HIV/AIDS in Nigeria.
So not only is Nigeria now putting the money to finance the people living with HIV, it has a pathway of owning the response.
The federal government is currently committing 2.5 billion naira to the treatment of additional 50,000 persons living with HIV and AIDS to complement donor funds. And this has helped in reducing the prevalence from 5.8 in 2001 to 1.3 in 2018.
We must try as much as possible to domesticate and localize this production so that we can cut down on costs.
The National Treatment and PMTCT Program, NTPP, has been reinvigorated with the support of our partners to strengthen the health sector response.
The policymakers advise states to embrace the National Health Insurance Scheme with emphasis on HIV/AIDS services. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
The Federal Ministry of Women Affairs also joined the Global Solidarity, Shared Responsibility and Free Testing for All in commemoration of this year's World AIDS Day. Mamso Demiedati has details.
A wife, a mother and a civil servant, Ngozi Inaji joins a long queue at the Ministry of Women Affairs to check her HIV status.
Sorry.
I'm not scared because I know the kind of life you live. I'm a married woman, as you can see. I know it's not gotten by true sex only, but carelessness, using sharp objects, and but I think in that aspect, I'm so conscious of it. And I'm advising even you to go and take.
And with this exercise, the free HIV testing is declared open for all interested persons with assurance of commitment to safeguard women and children.
The ministry is fully committed to support such victims, that survivors of rape, that have in the process contacted HIV/AIDS. This is to create more awareness and to join in solidarity for those who have died and those who are living with HIV/AIDS.
of recent, everybody is talking about the coronavirus and other pandemic that are affecting us. So everybody seems that HIV has finished or HIV have gone or is no longer in existence anyway, but we just here now to let the world know that HIV is still living with us. And now it's even more deadly because people are not aware of it.
The efforts, courtesy of Oral Health Advocacy Initiative, is aimed at reawakening the consciousness of the public to the fatal consequences of the disease. Momso Damien Dati, NTA News.
And joining us in the studio to further put into perspectives the fight against HIV/AIDS in the face of COVID-19 challenges is the Community Support Advisor of the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS, Gabriel Ndeliko. You're welcome to NTA News International.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Now, let's start this way. Self-testing is prominent in this year's theme. This leaves one to wonder if there will be sincerity on the part of people in owning up to a report that is positive. What is your take?
Thank you so much. A very, very critical question. But the important point you need to realize is the fact that testing is the gateway to treatment. Testing is the gateway, in fact, the tool that we need to actually adapt to enable us put as many people as possible on treatment so that we can be able to achieve the target we have so designed to end AIDS. But fundamentally, in the era of COVID, self-testing became quite prominent and quite critical because it allowed people to, in the comfort of their environment, get tested without necessarily having to go to a health facility. And so that also increased the pool of the number of people that you are able to test, and also ensure that as much as possible you reach the most critical mass, many of whom are sometimes a hidden population. So to just answer your question, that is the way to go. And of course, rigorous and extensive efforts have been put to ensure that people get tested. And of course, using tools like self-testing and ensuring that you get people where they are in terms of their location and also in terms of the priority of a specific population.
Also, the global theme for this year's World AIDS Day is Global Solidarity, Shared Responsibility. What informed the choice of the theme?
Yeah, in an era of COVID, where quite a lot of resources went into responding to the pandemic in terms of emergency, also in an era where we need to build a lot of partnership, people need to also get involved, in an era where we, as much as possible, we need to show solidarity. That was actually the most appropriate term to adopt because it tells us critically that each and every one of us have a responsibility to play. Each and every one of us should take on his responsibility, and when you take on your responsibility, it will actually contribute towards the whole and also bring about the fact that as a humanity, as a human race, really, we are actually connected. We are actually part of a whole. But importantly, for a country like Nigeria, we are able to cascade that global term to the fact that, yes, we can come together, yes, we can be united, and when we do that, even in the midst of COVID, we can be able to end the AIDS epidemic and also ensure that as much as possible, people get the kind of services that keep them healthy, strong, and productive.
Now, in the face of COVID-19 challenges, what is the way forward in achieving the 90-90 target?
Great question. I mean, you've just said it. The way forward is to get tested, ensure that every person gets tested who actually is at risk, ensure as much as possible that members of the key populations, particularly those who are most at risk, get tested, ensure that as much as possible we reach people where they could be reached. Clients of those who are already tested positive, we are able to reach them. We adopt all the approaches, all the tools that we have applied that have shown scientifically and are proven to be right. We adopt all those tools. But in particularly, bring out a lot of innovations and some of the lessons that we have learned during the period of COVID, and also basically to ensure that the country take ownership, leadership is provided, and of course, just like was mentioned previously, we are able to get the private sector to play a critical role to ensure that as much as possible we get where we want to get to.
Gabriel Ndeliko, thank you so very much for coming on NTA News International today. And of course, we hope to see you around sometime soon.
Thank you.
You're watching the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja. Time to take a short break. We shall be back with more stories in a moment.
What limits you? Nothing. who defines you? No one. Where can you go? Everywhere. With unlimited super-fast internet access, free Intel to Intel calls, and crystal clear quality conversations, you can do and be whatever you want to be. Intel. Live more.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
You're welcome back. Following the arrest of former chairman of the Pension Reform Task Team, Abdurrashid Abdullahi Maina in Niamey, Niger Republic, the Nigeria Police Force says it is perfecting extradition process of the fugitive to Nigeria to enable him face criminal proceedings against him. A statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, Force Headquarters, DCP Frank Mba, said Abdurrashid Maina, who was declared wanted by a court of competent jurisdiction, was arrested last night, 30th November 2020, through the collaborative efforts of operatives of the Nigeria Police Force, Interpol, Abuja, and their Nigerian counterpart. He is currently in a detention facility in Niger Republic, awaiting the completion of the extradition processes. The force assures the citizens that there shall be no hiding place for any suspect, no matter how highly placed. A solar hybrid system has been installed to guarantee 24 hours of power supply for the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. Adebola Brooksland Sunday reports that it's also for optimal functioning of the National Reference Laboratory of the center.
The National Reference Laboratory is the largest test laboratory for infectious diseases and one of the most important facilities in the fight against COVID-19 in Nigeria. Knowing that power supply is the life wire of the laboratory, the Federal Ministry of Power, with development partners, designed and installed the solar hybrid system with a capacity of 652 panels of 400 watts each, a total of 500 kilowatts battery energy storage system connected to the distribution network.
It is essential for lighting and cooling to power vital medical devices, including vaccine refrigerators, emergency surgical inputs, laboratory tests, and diagnostic equipment.
The laboratory will save about 80 million naira per year from reduced diesel consumption. 37% of the total annual energy consumption of the laboratory will be covered by the solar hybrid system.
Minister of Power Salim Mamma said the move is in support of Paris Agreement and the federal government to curtail COVID-19 pandemic.
The European Union and the German government funding, as I understand, will also cover for a 5 years operations and maintenance periods to ensure a sustainable transfer to NCDC.
Through these collaborations, we have made remarkable progress contributing to global health security, digitalizing our case-based surveillance system.
The minister and development partners were taken on a facility tour of the project. The project, which is implemented through the Nigerian Energy Support Program, is to further encourage the use of renewable energy in Nigeria. Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
Owing to the global coronavirus pandemic, United Nations project increase in humanitarian needs in 2021, just as President Trump's coronavirus advisor resigns. Joyce Ometu has details of these and other trending stories on the foreign scene.
The United Nations Humanitarian Office says the need for assistance have surged to unprecedented levels this year because of COVID-19. thereby projecting that a staggering 235 million people will require help in 2021. This is just as the World Health Organization says it would do everything possible to find the animal origins of COVID-19, insisting that knowledge is vital to preventing future outbreaks.
WHO is committed to do everything it can based on science and solutions to find the origin. And we will not stop from knowing the truth on the origin of the virus, but based on science, without politicizing it.
Meanwhile, German's BioNTech and its US partner, Pfizer, have applied for EU regulatory approval for their COVID-19 vaccine. However, the European Medicines Agency has said it would convene a meeting on December 29 to decide if there is enough data about the safety and efficacy of the vaccines. Talking numbers, global coronavirus cases as at 6 p.m. Nigeria time reached 63,794,071. This is as registered on Worldometer Coronavirus Dashboard, while Nigeria's total caseload is now 67,557. Still on the pandemic, U.S. President Donald Trump's special advisor on coronavirus, Scott Atlas, has resigned. While thanking Mr. Trump for the honor of serving the American people, Dr. Atlas said he had always relied on the latest science and evidence without any political consideration or influence. Away from that, the United Nations has sounded an alarm over the severe effect of food shortages on the nearly 100,000 Eritrean refugees in Ethiopia's restive Tigray region. Communications and transport links to Tigray have been severed, and the UN and humanitarian agencies have pleaded for access to deliver badly needed food, medicines, and other supplies. Joyce Ometu, NTA News.
Let's tell you that President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the appointment of Imam Suleiman Ibrahim as the new Director General for the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP. A holder of BSc in Sociology, Masters of Arts in Management and Masters of Business Administration degrees, Mrs. Suleiman Ibrahim hails from Nasarawa State. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President's Media and Publicity said until her new appointment, she was a member of the Nasarawa State Economic Advisory Council as well as a Special Advisor on Strategic Communication to the Minister of State for Education. The Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority has cautioned pilots, airline operators and others on severe dust, haze and fog phenomenon prevalent in Nigerian airports. In a statement by the General Manager Public Relations, Sam Adurogboye, the agency explained that adverse weather condition is expected in the southern part of the country in December, in addition to early morning fog, which might also be experienced in the month ahead, especially along the coastal areas. The statement further urged travelers to exercise restraint and show understanding in this Yuletide season as flights may be delayed or cancelled on account of the weather situations. The NCAA further explains that it expects strict compliance with this advisory circular as violations would be seriously viewed. All right, that's what you can take. But before we go, let's take a look at weather prospects.